Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto. Show me the crypto.
In a world on the brink of disruption, two men will bring you clarity by interviewing some of the most intelligent and influential names in the blockchain world. Welcome to Show Me the Crypto with your hosts, Wade Patterson and Ulf Lonergan.
Well, hi there and welcome to Show Me the Crypto. My name is Wade Patterson.
And I'm Ulf Lonergan.
And we're a couple of friends from Canada who love learning about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, and we're excited that you're along for the ride. Whether you're a crypto virgin or you know your way around the block, we hope that our interviews with some of the most intelligent and influential people in the space will help bring you value. And on this episode, we're joined by Heidi. From Steemit travel blogger to crypto tips YouTube personality, Heidi has educated hundreds of thousands of people through her informative videos on everything from wallet tutorials to explanations on yield farming. Heidi has become a trusted source in the blockchain community. In her spare time, Heidi enjoys cooking, surfing, and traveling. Heidi, welcome to Show Me the Crypto.
Hey, Wade and Olaf. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
We're stoked to have you. And I was adamant. So you are episode 1. And I told Ulf when we got started on this project, I said, Heidi has to be. This is going back to my Steemit days in 2016 when I was doing 20 questions interviews. You were interviewee number 1. And so my question is, what was Heidi before crypto? Like, what were your aspirations? What were your goals going back to that time before you knew about cryptocurrencies and blockchain?
Man, I mean, really, the best way to describe that is just a blank slate. It's kind of sad, but not really at the same time because of what it turned into. And that's what so many people say about their life, like, oh, I don't regret anything because it's turned into what it has. But yeah, I had some interest in writing. I studied writing in college, and I never left the country until I was 25 or 26. That's the first time I left the US and really did some traveling. But before that, yeah, I mean, just hanging out with family a lot, from a small town, nowhere near the ocean. And that's something really interesting, actually. I think people who live in a place that's kind of like enclosed, it's kind of a mindset that goes with it. So it wasn't really until I started traveling a lot that, the possibilities were endless. But there's one significant aspiration I had as a kid that I always remember is my grandma. I remember she always had these National Geographic magazines, and I always wanted to be a National Geographic photographer. Didn't quite get there, but I got there in my own way and just, exploring and just indulging writing and photography that way.
And so speaking about getting into crypto, was it Steemit that was your kind of gateway drug into it, or had you heard about crypto before Steemit, or how did that all work?
Yeah, I learned about crypto a few years before I joined Steemit, actually. I knew about it a little bit as just like an investment thing. And so I put some money into it. I was working as like a waitress in a pizza place, so I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was tucking it away. When I first learned about it, I had nothing really to lose. I was pretty free spirited at that point, living in Colorado at that time. And yeah, I had nothing to lose. So why not put it in crypto, see what happened? And did well. And I was, buying Bitcoin. And then I remember Ethereum came out, it was at like 50 cents and I was still like broke as a joke. And I was like, okay, well, I'll put like $50 into Ethereum. We'll see what that does.
Worked out well for you.
It did. But so I was kind of familiar with it, trying to learn, what a wallet was and, the exchanges and I really wasn't deep into the fundamentals of cryptocurrencies at that point. I remember there was a few YouTube channels like Crypto's News was around, and the Daily Decrypt by Amanda B. Johnson, famous woman in crypto. And so those were kind of like my impressions really of trying to learn more about cryptocurrencies. And then Steemit came around and actually I feel I don't know if this is funny or tragic, but I remember hearing about Steemit from Trayvon James.
Oh,
Oh man.
I mean, it did great for a lot of people, and so it wasn't a Ponzi scheme, but a pyramid scheme like BitConnect. But anyway, don't want to throw him under the bus too much.
Is he in jail now? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know actually.
I think there was like a lot of them that might have ended up there, but anyways, side story.
It's a warning tale for a lot of people in this space actually. But yeah, I learned, and I remember I don't know if I said this in our last interviews either, but like this one article that I saw on Steemit was like an article or a recipe for grilled pineapple. And like you said, like I love to cook, so I'm like, oh, I can do so many articles on cooking and make some money. So, coming from the place where I was of, not desperate, but maybe desperate to make some money, make it online as freely as possible. And crypto, and through Steemit was great because you didn't have to convince me or try to educate me in what cryptocurrency was at that point. I was already familiar. And then I learned how I could earn it through doing something that I already had a passion for, which was writing. And then it was like a great timing for me too, because I was fresh out of traveling quite a bit. And so, if you've ever done a lot of traveling, especially if it's your first time, you're pretty invigorated and like inspired and creative at that point. So as a writer, that was great. And match that with a platform like Steemit, where in July 2016, when I joined, it was like the launch of it, right? And so they were really trying to branch out beyond the people just talking about cryptocurrencies. So I benefited from that. But ironically, I found myself surrounded on a website of people who came there to make money, but they didn't know what cryptocurrency was. So I made a pivot to crypto tips. And that was in 2016.
that's awesome. And I'm fascinated by this effort to make social media work on the blockchain. And there's been a bunch of different projects that are kind of taking this at different angles. What is your impression of what Steemit did well, and maybe where obviously it's in a much different place now than it was back in 2016. But what are your thoughts on that whole subject?
I mean, yeah. As I move forward, and I hope everyone else, as they mature in this crypto space, you learn what works and what doesn't and why. So Steemit obviously was a great place, especially if you were, in the community and you went to Steam Fest and met up with people. It's a social media platform. So to meet up with people and see them face to face, being a part, just like when you're traveling or whatever new, you're part of this new thing, you make these new friendships, and then you can meet up in person, and it's this new blockchain thing and cryptocurrencies. Everyone's making money and like feeling great. It's like a new kind of evolution of how, people can function online. And so that was great about Steem. But as we learned, I mean, I certainly have a different opinion about delegated proof of stake at this point, and that whole foundational layer. How it's been manipulated in the past in several different blockchains. So it was a great idea, but I feel like I've moved on from that. I haven't posted on Steemit in quite a while now. But yeah, I mean, the whole concept of taking the power back and rewarding people for, interacting with each other, not only just like not feeding this online advertising monster that it is of your attention and data that's being collected, and it's like $1 trillion industry at this point probably. So that whole concept of bringing that back to the masses and finding ways to have cryptocurrency really provide passive income for people, or to open their eyes of how they're being maybe taken advantage of that they didn't realize, how they could directly benefit from it. I think that's great. So yeah, I mean, there is Steem, and there was also like Minds was a pretty early social media blockchain platform. And now there's a whole bunch. There's like float.app, Hive, of course, now is the result of the Steem debacle. And there's several others, and it's a really great effort, and I'm glad that people are building it. The only thing is with a social network is you need a network effect, right? And so that is a huge hurdle for people to get over, for these platforms to get over if they're competing with things like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. So So I post, or I share my content on library.tv, which is a video hosting blockchain website, which is great because, you know, in December of 2019, there was the YouTube kind of blackout of not just cryptocurrency influencers, but a lot of different kind of like alternative topic type YouTubers. And it woke a lot of people up of like, whoa, why? It's like the algorithm went wrong or whatever, and all of a sudden you're censored for like a week. Or there are some channels that were, you know, they thought they were going to be deleted forever and lose all their content. So it's great when there's a solution at hand with these decentralized social media platforms. I'm glad that I synced up with Library before that happened. So I had all my videos. They deleted quite a few of my videos, actually. So some of them I want to go back and I share it with someone. I'm like, oh, it's not even there anymore. They deleted it. So it's interesting, but like for me as a content creator too, and with the importance that I feel of getting the word out about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, is there is a benefit to YouTube and the billions of people that use it. Same with Facebook. It's like a necessary evil, but at the same time, I also share, you know, on other platforms as well. And then if people want to check that out, there it's there as well. But it's a really interesting hump that these new social media platforms are going to have to get over. And I'll be interested to see, you know, what really inspires that. It's kind of like the whole mass adoption thing of cryptocurrencies. It's like you would like everyone just to go for the right option to see the light of day. But the sad fact that we're kind of realizing is it's going to take something really big and bad to prove that the existing system is not ideal. And you'll be really thankful that there's a solution at hand. But until then, you're probably not, most people aren't going to voluntarily go that direction, unfortunately.
So what was your experience with that? Like, I mean, did you get any sort of explanation from YouTube, like what it was about your content that was violating something, or you just had a bunch of videos removed out of nowhere?
They said it was violating like they were saying pretty much I was trying to sell illegal things, and they listed like tobacco, firearms, and like really random things. I couldn't understand what I'm like, I'm not trying to sell anything. And then I think it was because I had a referral for a crypto exchange on my video description. So I just did like a mass edit of all my videos. And I just said, I don't do paid promotions or like, that's another thing. But so it's a shame because I put a lot of information in my video descriptions, but at that point it was like, I can't just go one by one. So I just mass edited everything. But yeah. And then it cleared. I don't know if they cleared it up. I think they cleared it up because I filed a complaint, called them out on Twitter. Just like everyone usually does. Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. But there's some people who were, I think, banned for like a month or something, or threatened to be. I think I got you because you get a warning and then you get 3 strikes, and your third strike, your channel is deleted. So I got like 1 strike.
I remember at the time, like I'm an avid YouTuber. That's how I digest 90% of the content I take in, and yeah, it was really like happening, not just obviously to you, but to all kinds of different YouTubers. And yeah, it was quite serious. I know a lot of them lost, like you said, for yourself, a lot of content. And, you know, if that's for a lot of YouTubers too, who are like really serious about it, it could be a major source of their income, right? And like, that's a big hit to take. And then it kind of emphasizes that fact of like, if you don't, you know, if you're putting on a platform that is controlled by a central entity, you know, what are your rights around owning that content and what you can share? Yeah, it just it kind of reinforces decentralization and what kind of blockchain technology is all about, I think, in many ways.
Yeah, exactly. And it's yeah, what you're saying, when you're participating with a centralized platform, you're really at the whim of them. And unfortunately, one thing that like I don't like, if you have a YouTube channel, you know, you go to your editor page or whatever, and it'll show you like these little videos for like how to perform better for your videos or whatever. And it's like little ways they're trying to design how the information gets broadcast. And even if I noticed if I like choose to not monetize my videos, I don't get as much views because they're obviously not motivated to get that video out because they're not getting paid from the advertisement revenue. They still have to pay for the storage of that video. So it's really interesting how, talk about modified behavior through social media. It's everywhere, including that. And something as important as I think sharing the news of blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, it's something that should be pretty steadfast. So yeah, and too, like the other channels that were affected by that YouTube ban, they also were more interested in and probably joined other decentralized platforms as well. Like there's PewDiePie, who is on DLive a lot, I think, and then I think he went back to YouTube. But anyway, interest is there, and so hopefully these platforms can continue to develop while maybe they're not being necessarily flooded by users yet. They can work on it, develop it on, because we see that with exchanges whenever there's like a bull run or wallet platforms or anything. Like if you're trying to buy a ledger during 2017, 2018, you're going to wait like 4 months to get your ledger put in. So hopefully they can develop and get a better user experience on these platforms. And then when the people come in, it'll be something legit that they can actually enjoy and it makes sense.
One thing you touched on there, Heidi, I don't know how much you want to get into it, but you kind of have a thought on sponsored content and that kind of thing, or having sponsors on your content. And I think it's an interesting juxtaposition that you have these videos for people who are new to crypto, who are trying to learn about it, but it comes up at the beginning having a host recommending a particular product or something. Do you have an opinion on, whether it's the ethics of that? Is that okay? Have you taken a certain role with that, or what are your thoughts?
Back in my early days of doing YouTube videos, it was like in 2017, there was like the ICO craze. And so there was, especially being someone new. I remember I actually even reached out to Amanda B. Johnson for her advice. She never got back to me. That probably could have helped. But just asking her like her opinion on dealing with this idea of sponsorships or getting paid to do videos for promoting things. And it's so alluring. Like these guys will drop a lot of money for you to talk about their video. And I did it, but then like for like a couple videos, and then it just put like a bad taste in my mouth, and people didn't really respond to it too well, rightfully so. And I'm glad that was it, because now like I am so glad. It's such a relief not to have this pressure of like talking about something, because number one, someone paid me to do it. The second money changes hands and it's like in your pocket, your opinion is not honest. It's officially biased to swing towards talking well about that product. And sometimes like I talk a lot about Ledger hardware wallets. That's because I use one. That's why I do tutorials on it. It's super easy because I use it all the time. And so in that way, like I have an affiliate link with that, but that's the extent of it. Like I get so many emails of these people from these marketing firms saying, we have a client, we love your videos. It's so generic. They just say, hello. They don't even say your name. They say, like, we love your videos or whatever. It's so generic. And I just always respond, I don't do paid promotions, but I wish you all the best. Or like, please remove me off your list or something like that. It's great for me because number one, I have found success just investing in cryptocurrencies and doing that well and wisely, that I don't have to be kind of scraping the barrel for sponsorships for my channel. And yeah, I think that lends a certain authenticity to my videos. And I think some people can really resonate with that, which is great, because there's always going to be a sellout. Like there's so many sellouts on Twitter, on YouTube, all over the place. And, that's their plan and that's fine. But I'm really interested in the long run. I'm interested in sleeping well at night and actually helping people from the best that I can with the most, honest and straightforward kind of perspective.
Something I'd love to ask based on, to take a step back to something you mentioned about like these social media platforms. I mean, this is something Wade and I have had discussions about in regards to, blockchain technologies and what kind of, it just makes sense in a lot of ways for a social media platform to thrive on, in a decentralized manner. But obviously there's a lot of challenges to overcome in making that happen. And one of the things that you were talking about is that network effect. Nobody's going to use a social media network of any kind if there aren't other people on it. I mean, some people will. There's going to be early adopters, but you won't get past early adopters unless you can kind of have some breakout. But what I wanted to mention is that one way to maybe avoid being the network that has to have the breakout is through interoperability and perhaps through sort of aggregation. And so, I mean, that's true in other protocols as well. And the fact that, you know, we could look at even some of the top 10, you know, cryptos today by market cap. You look at something like Cardano, for example, I mean, it has a lot of promise. But unless they get the network behind them of real users, it will be hard for them to ever realistically compete with someone like Ethereum, right? With a protocol like Ethereum. And the same is true in the aspect of the discussion around social media protocols and how that could work on the blockchain. But perhaps, you know, maybe that'll be how it ends up working one day, is rather than being a solely like a sole entity where everything operates within that protocol, maybe it pulls from these other YouTube and Facebook and other existing platforms that are centralized by aggregating that data and pulling users in as a place to then ultimately store it in a safe, private, decentralized way. And maybe that will be the way something like that ends up working.
Yeah, I totally agree. Interoperability has proven any coin or project that has kind of put that as a focus, I think either has done well or will do well. Like you're talking about Cardano competing with Ethereum, you know, there is like the whole rash of Ethereum killers coming out, and they can't compete with the network effect of Ethereum. But what they're doing instead now is kind of building these second layer solutions or side chains for Ethereum out of necessity, really. And in that way can lend maybe some familiarity from Ether back to that blockchain. And yeah, I think it's like crypto in general isn't a zero sum game. I don't think it's going to be like one thing. And I think that's something that maybe these people who are building these platforms, or I mean, I don't know exactly what goes into building a platform. Like, let's be honest, I don't have a tech background. I've never built a cryptocurrency before. So I'm sure that there's a lot of nuances and especially with social media, like trying to, like with Steem too, trying to incentivize the users and how that can affect the kind of content that's being displayed, who has the power to say who gets what. And it's really interesting. And it's something that hasn't been done before. There's always been, you know, you get paid through the advertisements, but okay, well, now this is going to come around. How are we rewarding ourselves, and what kind of content do we want to promote? Because that's really what it is. You know, censorship comes into that as well. But before we get into all that, like interoperability, I definitely agree with you. That is going to be key. And I think that any cryptocurrency has a high promise, or social media platform has a high promise, especially if they can find a way, like actually Filecoin with the interplanetary file system, IPFS, they have, you know, they're trying to figure out ways to do live streaming and working with YouTube. So that could be a thing that, you know, gets connected to another social media, decentralized social media platform through Filecoin that connects to YouTube, and who knows, but yeah, we're much more stronger working together than against each other. And someone might have a solution over here that you didn't think of that might not work on your platform. And, you know, why not? It's open source. That's a beautiful aspect of open source community. It just keeps getting better.
Yeah, 100%. One of the things you and Toby did, which was really cool, was recently kind of a multi-part series on navigating a bull run, which is something you're experienced with. And first off, shout out to our audience to go check out those videos. We'll link below to them in the description. But what really is kind of the Cole's notes from that? Like, what should people be mindful of? And also, like, where are we at the bull run? Like, are we in it? Is it about to happen? Like, can you give some background on that side of things?
Yeah. So That's actually a class that we held for our Patreon members, and it was so well received. After we got done with that class, I'm like, oh, we have to, I think, share that with a lot of other people. Like, let's make that more public. So yeah, I'm really proud of that video series, and because we covered so many different topics that are so important, and it's kind of like a secret sauce, not really, but it's what I think a lot of people try to keep for themselves instead of like sharing to the public and being really helpful for people, especially during a bull run. So let's look at like the bull run of 2017, 2018. Bitcoin went from like $1,000 to nearly $20,000, like within a year. And so this year, or like the past year, Bitcoin's been around what, 6,000. Now we're at 18. But this time there are publicly traded companies, big institutions that are buying the crap out of Bitcoin, and not just to sell it to make a buck. They're buying it as their reserve asset of their company. MicroStrategy bought a whole bunch of Bitcoin. They've made more off their profits of Bitcoin. I doubt that they sold their Bitcoin to take those profits. But anyway, their Bitcoin appreciated more than their company earned within the same time frame.
Wow.
So other companies are going to
wild.
see that and be like, oh, maybe, wow, it's a scarce asset. That's true. Wow, I can actually, have true custody over it. So there's a lot of fundamental aspects to Bitcoin that is going to just lend to its more people waking up to it. So there's a bunch more people who are aware of Bitcoin than in past bull runs. A lot more kind of legitimacy is being lent to Bitcoin now, and compared to last one. It's not just some crazy speculative new internet money. It's like a reserve asset. And it's being seen more and more as a safe haven. So the potential for this bull run, I think, is like a much bigger than last bull run. And I think it's just kind of revving up right now. I don't think we've seen anything. And that's something that we were the gist of that navigating the bull run is raise your expectations for what kind of profits you might be able to see. That's something that I experienced myself, is that I could suddenly afford things that I never thought I could be able to afford. I purchased a second citizenship. I renounced my US citizenship. I purchased a home that I own, not a mortgage. And I have a legitimate like retirement fund. That's just from the last one. And it's like I came from working at my dad's sign shop, from being a waitress at a pizza place, having really no savings whatsoever, to suddenly having a lot more security. And people want to say, oh yeah, but it's too late. It's too late. No, it's not too late. Why would you count yourself out for something that is, it's not, I mean, there's no guarantees in crypto, but I really feel it is at this point irresponsible not to get some exposure to Bitcoin or Ethereum or cryptocurrencies. So yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about other cryptocurrencies doing well in this bull run as well. Like, fundamentals aren't going to be counting for everyone. Some are, the high tide rises all boats. So those are still going to be playing out. But yeah, there's also there's so much logistics of profits that a lot of people who, if they're new to crypto or new to profits in general, they're not going to really know that was the thing they're going to have to worry about, like paying taxes, dealing with KYC on centralized exchanges that they have to, how to protect your profits from the volatility that's going to come maybe after the bull run when it corrects. So it's a lot of things to keep in mind, and it's a lot of things that are really important to know beforehand. When you have a clear mind, you can set a plan for yourself, kind of warm up to the idea, and then be prepared, and then take advantage, and then, dude, get rid of your debt, better your life, de-stress, and it's crypto can do a lot of crazy things, especially in this day and age where people are losing their jobs. They're, not so sure about their current financial situation. Imagine if you invested in crypto and you're not so worried about having lost your job because you have something else that's actually going to come through and help you put food on the table. I mean, that's huge.
Did you, I think this question will be relevant for a lot of listeners. not everyone, but a lot of listeners, because in 2017, 18, when Bitcoin was going crazy, it got to the point where, everyone and their grandma had heard of it. It was on the news. It was friends were telling friends. It was this magical thing that was exploding in price. That's when I had heard of it prior to that. Wade actually introduced me to it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But myself, like probably a lot of others at that time, bought in at or near the peak. And so depending on how committed you were, how much you believed in it, you either sold, losing a lot of money after everything started crashing, or you held on and maybe you're finally seeing that investment come back to where it was and now perhaps ready to take off again. But the question I have for you is, you've been at this for a lot longer. You were introduced to Bitcoin a lot earlier than 2017. So on the subject we were just talking about in regards to taking profits and actually making money, because if you just hold on even when that bear market comes, you may have lost everything you earned. So for you, did you have a strategy going into 2017, 18 when you were reaching those highs? Did you take profits and kind of actually come out of that on a positive note?
So my husband, Toby, went through the bull run before 2017, but I entered after that. So that was my first bull run. And it was kind of like you're on a roller coaster, like, wow, how high is this going to go? Who knows? And it was like I didn't have a lot of pressure. I didn't have a lot of overhead in my life. I didn't have mortgage to pay at that point. I didn't have a car. I was living in Portugal, just walking everywhere. So like super chill, easygoing life. Talk about, sorry, when you said it was on the news, I remember specifically, I'll never forget this one news night on the news. They were saying like, guess which one is a cryptocurrency? And they were like, had all these ridiculous names. And like one was a cryptocurrency. I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
There's crazier names now.
Yeah. But so anyway, talking about investing and trading in cryptocurrency, more so trading, is like you should be as non-emotional as you can be, because if you're influenced by what other people are talking about, you're going to be the one following, and you want to be ahead of the curve. And so you have to have really a contrarian mindset. So I do feel for the people, obviously, who only just learned about it as it was hockey sticking up. That's when a lot of people learned about it. And, unfortunately, that was their first experience. But like you said, if you were dedicated or at all interested and just learned about it, hopefully there were some people who decided to save some and not maybe, cash out everything. And so you can have that kind of contrarian mindset when you see everyone, it's like the canary in the in the Bitcoin mine, going up, and everyone's talking about it. That's your hint of like, okay, there's a lot of people who want to buy it. I've already bought. Maybe it's time to take some profits. I will never sell all of my cryptocurrency. I'll never sell all of my Bitcoin. I'll say that. Other altcoins, who knows? I might, but I think, like for me, Bitcoin is my reserve asset. I'll say that. It is really hard because you're fighting your greed, and you're seeing the number just climb and climb and climb. I remember like that peak of December, January, 2017, 2018. It was crazy what Bitcoin was doing. And I got a little deja vu like 2 days ago when Bitcoin went from like 16,000 to 18,000. I was like, oh my goodness, just watch the live feed of the price. But you have to remind yourself, number one, it's much more than price. It's actually a valuable thing that you want to hold on to no matter what. But if you need, to take some profits, and hopefully, you've bought the dip, which is equally as hard to do as taking profits sometimes at the top. But that's all about, understanding the fundamentals and having a plan in place.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, Heidi, is, you're doing all of this YouTube content. You mentioned 2016, you pivot there to start doing crypto tips. What is that that meant, because I've seen your videos, tons of views, tons of comments, but to know that you're really making a difference for some people in terms of educating, and really that you've kind of built those ethics into it along the way, that you're not just, shilling some coin and, kind of doing it for profit from that sense, but just from an own, passion point of view. What has this meant to you over the last few years to be able to be helping others along the way?
Back in college, I was an education major, and then it was going to be English education, and then I just pivoted to just English. But anyway, I've always had this interest in helping people, and I would have never guessed it would be something as like financial as Bitcoin and blockchain is. It's definitely something that I've learned along the way, and that's kind of definitely the perspective that I had launching Crypto Tips. Was I had zero confidence. Really, I had zero camera skills, still need to work on those, but just coming from it as like, okay, I just learned about this, and I'm gonna make a video about it. And again, when I first started, there wasn't a lot of people doing content, and it was really dense. So I was really trying my best to just analyze it, read it over and over and over again. And then I thought I got it, and then I would make a video. And so that's really been my perspective this whole time, is I guess coming from a sense of being humble, of like, I'm not an expert, but this is what I see. And especially now that I can lend some years of experience on top of that, it means a lot. And I'm glad that I can be someone that people are finding useful. And there's also, what I love more is that people are saying, oh yeah, I found you from so-and-so's channel. And then they'll also comment, you should check out this guy, he's good for this. Oh yeah, I found that he's really good too. So it's like, I'm not the only one, and that's amazing. There's certainly a lot of other people who deserve, I think, a lot more attention as well, but they're not, for whatever reason, maybe because they're not shilling or paying to get their content. I don't know what they do or who does it, but yeah, I can sleep well at night. And I have a Patreon group now, so it's a lot more kind of intimate and interactive. And at first I was kind of hesitant to even launch it, just because I thought I'd be overwhelmed by like all this one-on-one conversation, and like, what if they ask a question I don't know, like, but it's really nice hearing how, I might have helped someone, or, they just appreciate the honesty and the kind of transparency and integrity that we offer. Toby too. We've been doing these live streams every Monday, my husband, Toby, and I, and they're great. I hated them at first. Going live petrified me, but now we've built this user base and like this live chat, and it's like always the same people, and they're so excited, and it's really cool to get that community going. And it's just happy people, and yeah, I'm really happy to be able to contribute to a community like that.
And where do you see the content going in the future? Like, what's, I always love to ask the question, kind of like 5 years from now, like similar type of thing, just constantly evolving the content, or what do you see?
I don't know. I thought about that too. Like, what am I going to do? Like, when do I retire? Should I retire? Is that ethic? I don't know. Is that irresponsible? But I would love, I'm actually been working on a book for a while, and I haven't really been announcing it just because it's a book.
It's announced now. It's out there.
Who knows when it's going to come out, but I would love to kind of maybe pivot towards more writing. I've been doing a free weekly newsletter where I do little tidbits, and I love that. That's kind of nice to get my little writing out that way. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'll always stick to the fundamentals of cryptocurrency and like why they were created, like things like privacy and autonomy and decentralization. There's like so much being lost in what other people are kind of talking about, or generally in the news of cryptocurrency. It's all about price, all about so-and-so bought this, and just different ways that different platforms are being organized. Like, oh, okay, that was a shortcut. Oh, okay, they sacrificed a little bit there as well. So I feel like I'll always be pretty passionate about just doing that helpful reminder. Hopefully it doesn't get to the point where I'm just saying like, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Who knows? I mean, this space evolves so fast. Like, talk about what happened with DeFi in like a few months.
Yeah, it was crazy happening
I have no
fast.
idea what's going to happen in 5 years, but Yeah, it'll keep your mind sharp. That's for sure, being in this space. So hopefully.
You know what though? You can't hate on like news outlets or people, whatever, speculating and like talking about price of Bitcoin or talking about Bitcoin as an investment or just cryptocurrency in general, because it's what gets us all into it. Originally, the fundamentals are what we learn after we realize this can make us a lot of money. And it all starts with money. I mean, naturally, everybody needs it to get by. Everybody needs it for security. Everybody wants more of it to live a more lavish life, whatever it is. But that's only the entry is that spark of that one thing we all have in common. And then once you start to learn about those fundamentals, that's when, I mean, it maybe doesn't always connect for everyone, but I feel like the people who really stick around in the space are the ones who believe in at least some aspects of those fundamentals as well. So hey, at least it gets that foot in the door for people who otherwise probably wouldn't even take a look.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's true for me too. That was my story. But it's ironic because that's like the number one advice I want to give to anyone is like, learn about it first. It'll make it easier to invest.
Yeah.
But then you're not going to care as much. It's like, you don't have any skin in the game. So you got to put some skin in the game, and then we'll see what happens, how motivated you are to learn about the thing you just invested in. It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? But it's very true. Yeah, absolutely. People want to know how to make some money. And right. I mean, of course, everyone needs to make money, but when you dig deeper, it's pretty cool to learn about as well.
There's a couple video topics I just want to touch on before we kind of wrap this up, get to the end portion. One that caught my attention was think twice before using Metamask, and I was like, I use Metamask. Like, what? But things like that. Like, what was kind of the crux of that video, and why should people think twice before using Metamask?
Well, I remember I did a video like 2 years ago because they actually changed their privacy agreement, and there was some interesting language change in when you compare the two, talking about your data and things like this. And it's I was actually nervous to make that video. I was like, oh, people are not gonna like this, but it's true. It's like, how many people actually read the privacy agreements of like any website that they go to or exchange that you go to if you have to go through KYC? Right. And like these wallet providers, do you actually read the privacy policy? Do you read
I do not.
what kind of information it's really long and boring legal talk. Yeah. So I remember that had happened with MetaMask, and then I realized with DeFi, so many, even Toby, my husband, used it a few times, and every time I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it, Toby. He's like, I don't care. And it's true. You make your own, take your life into your own hands, whatever. Do what you got to do, what you want to do, but at least know what's happening. And there are some interesting comments about it, like saying it's open source. You can actually, they were saying like launch it without Google somehow, but here's the thing, right? Is like, okay, MetaMask is a wallet that's supposed to be the gateway into Ethereum, and there's DeFi and blockchain and freedom and new ways to make money, and you separate yourself from the bank or whatever. But they're doing it through Google, and just like how being a YouTube creator, you're kind of playing by the games of YouTube, they have to play by the games of Google, and I'm sure Google would be interested to get some kind of data collection. That's probably why they had to change their terms. And they should have, it's possible to build something from the right foundation, right? But because it's a browser extension, there's a lot of things that they're collecting on. If you pretty much, it's like you have to disable them being able to read what's happening on any web page that you're on that browser, which is scary. And if you disable it, some things don't work on it, like tokens. So it's really interesting. So you have to like fiddle with that back and forth if you really want to be careful. And there's the argument you can use it on just one browser and don't use that browser for anything else. But let's be honest, like how many people are really that careful about how they're doing it with crypto, especially if it's MetaMask and it's, a browser extension, it's super convenient. Mm-hmm. So why would you go through the way of making it inconvenient? So I feel like they could have done better, worked harder, fought more to protect their users than they did. And It's just my opinion.
All right. So Heidi, we like to end every episode of Show Me the Crypto with a 3-question segment called You Had Me at Crypto. So Ulf, go ahead.
All right. You ready for these 3 questions? They're not that much different than the others, but they're the 3 that we do. We keep the same for every interview. So, number 1, who's your favorite person to follow in the crypto space?
Andreas Antonopoulos. I think that's a given. He's like the grandfather of crypto. Not really. He's not Satoshi, but he's I think a great voice for the fundamentals again of Bitcoin. He does like his speeches are so good. I did a video like the greatest hits of Andreas Antonopoulos just because I was like, okay, here's an inspirational video for everyone in crypto right now. It was in like the dead of crypto winter. So
That's
Nice.
awesome. Love it.
What will the price of Bitcoin be 10 years from now?
it's going to be worth the price. It's going to be 1 Bitcoin. I think everything is going to be denominated in terms of Bitcoin by then. It should be 10 years from now. It should hopefully, it'll put the central bank digital currencies in the dust and
cool
we'll see
answer.
massive capital flight into Bitcoin. So yeah, 1 Bitcoin would be 1 Bitcoin.
What is the most underrated coin or project in crypto?
So I try to stay crypto agnostic. Some person commented that on one of my videos and I was like, yes, that's a perfect way to put it. I try not to like name drop coins.
Yeah.
There are coins, of course, that I'm interested in and I favor, but I really dislike endorsing a coin. And like, I hate the idea of someone just buying it just because it came out of my mouth and they don't actually know anything about it. Because for all they know, I didn't really research it. I wouldn't say it if I didn't research it. But anyway, it's just this, yeah, it's a thing. So anyway, here's the things that I really like about cryptocurrencies are, like we spoke about before, interoperability. I think that is a very good, promising indication for the health of that crypto long term. Also, privacy features that are like on a foundational level will be very helpful. We'll see how that plays out with centralized exchanges and the media, but regardless, privacy coins I think are very important for fungibility of cryptocurrencies. And yeah, I think those are 2 solid things to pay attention to moving forward.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Heidi, for being guest number 1 on Show Me the Crypto. So exciting. We really appreciate you joining us for this episode.
Yeah, thank you. I had a blast. This is great. I really hope you guys keep this going and maybe I can have you on my channel. And yeah, I'd love to see this grow for you guys.
Thank you for listening to Show Me the Crypto. Please make sure to subscribe